Hey everybody, welcome back to my kitchen. I'm Ken, and today I want to welcome you into the wonderful world of Greek baking. Today I have my baker's hat on. Actually, no I don't, but anyway. I want to talk to you today and show you how to make a traditional Easter sweet bread or a sweet egg bread called Tsoureki. So first things first, I'm going to take half a cup of warm water and add my yeast into this and get that going along with the sugar, and really quickly just mix it in and set it aside for about 10-15 minutes or until we get the rest of our ingredients going. So that's that, and we'll move this off to the side here and get that working while we do the rest of our stuff. The next part of this is very easy. We're going to use our mixer, and very simply, I'm going to throw in our butter, just like that. And believe me when I tell you, I would use the softened butter. Don't pull it right out of your fridge. It's going to be not fun. So now that our butter and sugar are in here, we're just going to slowly start whipping this up. Start off at low speed, believe me, and just let this kind of incorporate in itself. Whip it up just like that. And as we start to see our sugar and our butter incorporating, then we start adding our other ingredients. At this point now, as our mixer is working, we kind of bring it right down to the lowest speed, because now what we're going to do is add our milk. And for this, I'm adding 1.5 cups of milk. And that's just going to go in there nice and easy. You don't want to, believe me, you don't want to rush this step, because you're going to have like milk all over the place, and that's not fun at all. So let that work its way in there. And after that, 3 eggs. And there's our last egg going in now. That's perfect. At this point, what I would do as well is stop it now, lift it up, and kind of, as the butter gets in and isn't 100% soft or it hasn't incorporated yet, scrape the sides of your bowl as well. And that way it keeps everything kind of mixed and you don't miss out on anything in terms of the quantities going into your batter for this. The next part of this recipe is what gives it that distinct Tsoureki flavor, and that's these 2 gems right here. You're going to need 2 little pouches of something called mahlepi or machleb, depending on the part of the world you're from. You will find this, you may not find this in your kind of typical grocery stores, but in the Greek specialty shops, Middle Eastern shops, or even like the higher end grocery stores will have this in their international section. And this is, machleb is a spice or a seasoning that you add to this that gives it that distinct flavor. So in go 2 sackets or packets of the mahlepi, and we'll just throw that in there just like that. And believe me, like I've told you before, like a million times in all my other videos, I'm certainly no baker. And if I can do this, if I can make this, you can make this too, believe me. So the mahlepi goes in there, and let that just kind of incorporate in and do its thing. And the only thing now that's left at this stage is to slowly start adding in our yeast and our flour. So again, I'm gonna bring this right down to like a stir. Actually, you know what? Screw it, I'm not, because I see this not turning out really well the way I'm doing it. So here, I've got my yeast that's kind of already activated. So I'm just gonna take that, pour that in here as gracefully as I can. And just like that. And this is gonna bring us that light proofing that we need after. So that's that right there. Perfect. Put that off to the side. And at this point, you slowly want to start adding in some of the flour to start thickening up our dough. So very, very slowly. And when you do actually start mixing this thing in terms of back on, I would really start it off on the slowest speed because you will be sorry if you don't. Now, as our mixer is working and doing all the work for us, start adding in the rest of your flour little by little. At this stage of the game now, our dough is really starting to tighten up. So what we're gonna have to do is bring in the manual labor. So for this, we're just gonna remove our dough from our mixer here, along with the paddle, because this is where the fun starts. Put a little bit of flour on your board and start laying out your dough. All right, so now we have our dough on our board. Take a little more of the flour and just move it all around. And now this is where we're gonna actually start kneading it slowly. And I would really recommend you don't use any dark clothing when you're doing this, because you're gonna wind up looking like Casper or worse. So just slowly start incorporating the flour into this. And again, I'm no baker, so we just do our best. I will tell you that this is not the neatest of jobs, because this is actually generally a very tacky dough, but just do your best. And now from here, I'm just gonna take my bowl, really easy here, put this down, put this into my bowl here, because this is gonna need now a couple of hours to just sit and basically proof before we actually start forming it into our final shape, as well as baking it off. So for this, just let me wash my hands and I'll show you what comes next. So now that my hands are nice and clean and we're ready to go, simply take our dough and put it in a dry place, cover it with some saran wrap. And this is my favorite part right here, is fighting with a saran wrap. Just put it over. All right, so that's our covered pan all ready to go. It's covered. Now put that in a warm place for a couple hours and go do something else, whatever. And in 2 hours, we'll be back and I'll show you what comes next. So it's been about 2 hours or so, and our dough is ready to go. It's proofed nicely. It's still a little tacky. So the next part of this is twofold. First, we got to put a little flour on our kind of surface, our work surface here, because believe me, you don't want this thing sticking all over the place. It's just going to become really kind of difficult to work with. That's number one. And number two, now that we have our kind of pans all kind of floured up, another trick to this as well, when you're working with sticky doughs, is getting a little vegetable oil, just rubbing it all over your hands, and that way nothing will stick other than basically your dough where it should. So here we have our gorgeous tsoureki dough. It's almost like a big Play-Doh kind of thing. But anyway, so here is our dough. And today I'm gonna do a little bit of a traditional way, which is the big braid. And that's what typically you're gonna find in the stores or in people's houses that they buy. And traditionally that's what they make. So for this, what we're gonna do is very simply roll out or kind of stretch out our dough as much as we can. And this is actually very, very malleable right now. You can actually do a lot with this and just stretch it, keep stretching it, keep going. And after we do this, it's gonna proof again. I know, it's gonna proof yet again for another hour before we actually put it in to bake. And actually, let me do it this way. You can see how I'm kind of stretching it all out. This is gonna make one big ass tsoureki, believe me. You can make two smaller ones if you like, but for me, it's all about size, and size matters when it comes to tsoureki. here we go, just working it, just stretching it like this. It's almost making it like a bit of a serpent, sort of. Not looking too bad. It's almost like a U shape, if you can see this, without having the thing slide off. It's almost like a U shape, and that's what I want to do. And what we're going to do is, I'm actually going to turn my board this way now, have it facing me, and we're going to bring this over. You're going to just cross this over like this, and then again, we're going to cross this over like this again, and one more time like this. So there's our tsoureki now, shaped up, ready to go for its final proofing. In an hour, I'll be back and we'll take it from there. All right, so now our tsoureki has just finished its second proofing. So all in all, it looks amazing. It actually, to tell you the truth, it looks like the size of a newborn. But anyway, it looks fantastic. It's proofed nicely. It's ready to go. And the next part of this recipe is actually just the finishing touches before we bake it off. And in this case, I'll tell you, we bake this off at 350 degrees Fahrenheit or about 180 degrees Celsius. And we put this in for about an hour, give or take. The name of the game here is to get it that golden brown color. So before we go any further, what we're gonna do is first and foremost do a very light egg wash. And for this, it's basically just cracking one egg and then basically just watering it down with just a little bit of water, maybe like a tablespoon of water. And I'll do that right this second. So just real quick, just like this. And believe me, I actually should have used a different dish, but something a little deeper, but all right. So then we take our brush and we egg wash this. Let me just move this out of the way here. This is like the size of a, holy cow, this is like pretty big. So I'm just gonna start basting this around with the egg wash. All right, so that's looks pretty good there to me. And just do the best you can. Like I said, we're not bakers here, but this is gonna be, at the end, it's gonna be really good. So, all right, so that's that here. We've put our egg wash there. All right, now for the next part of this is you have two options. You can either go with a slivered almond approach, which is very common, or you can do what I'm doing, and it's basically the sesame seed approach. Now for me, I like to do a little bit different, so I want to put a few sesame seeds on here, just like that. Perfect. And again, in keeping with Greek tradition, I have an egg that's been somewhat dyed. Greeks will typically make red eggs for Easter. You can make whatever colored eggs you want, or you can not put eggs at all. And what you're gonna do is just place it in the middle like this of your tsoureki, just like that. And from here, we're gonna pop it into our 350 degree oven for about an hour, give or take. Keep an eye on it. You want this to become like this golden glazed brown color. And when it's done, we'll go from there and I'll show you how it turned out. So here is my little thing of beauty. It's been a while. It's finally done. It's out of the oven. It's had a chance to kind of rest and cool down, which is exactly what you want, believe me. It's the size of a baby, to tell you the truth. I mean, you can cuddle this thing or like rock it to sleep. It's unbelievable. It's absolutely fantastic. Here's a nice picture of it. So I am absolutely thrilled at this. It came out perfectly. It takes a little bit of time And as long as you get the steps right, it's going to become absolutely perfect. Our egg, you can still see, I shouldn't have put it as deep as I did because this thing actually, our tsoureki, came up a little bit in the cooking process. But overall, it turned out perfectly, absolutely perfectly. Look at this. See? Rocket the bed. So anyway, that's it for this episode on Greek tsoureki, or the Greek Easter sweetbread, the egg bread. I hope you guys had fun watching this. I hope you guys have a chance to make this. It's one of those deep traditions in Greek kind of history, in Greek religion around Easter time. And it's actually, frankly, it's like basically the Greek panettone. Even if you don't celebrate Easter or whatever and you want to make this, it's absolutely fantastic just to make on its own anytime. Takes a little bit of effort, but believe me when I tell you, it is absolutely worth it. So that's it for me today. I hope you enjoyed this. Try this. Please hit the like button, subscribe, and until next time, I'm Ken, aka The Lazy Gourmet. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.